Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, founder of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode and any or all of our previous 294 episodes. So we've officially hit the number 295. So we are a short ways away from 300 total episodes in studio, out of studio. And we couldn't do this. We can't do this without you. Thank you for tuning in, watching, listening, whether you're at home or traveling. We just want to say thank you for sharing any amount of time with us. We do greatly appreciate all of uh, all the time, all of you. Uh, it's really humbling, and this is one of those times where uh, I get a little bit speechless, and that's really hard to do for anybody who uh, has listened or watched any of our any of our shows in the past. And again, thank you if you've been with us from the beginning, and thank you if this is your first second that you're watching or listening to the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Uh, Thank you. If you could do us a big favor, is give us a big thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, follow, comment. All those things are helpful, not just for us, but for reaching and helping as many people as we can humanly do in our time on Earth and our time uh, once we've passed our legacy, because we feel that uh, the information we share, the experiences, the people, uh, the events, the milestones, the heartache, the successes, and everywhere in between is all human emotion and things that happen to us as human beings. So we know that we're going to be long into the future helping or providing a moment of clarity, a moment of confirmation, validation, uh, a new idea, a new way of thinking about something. Again, none of us are perfect, and we don't prescribe to be perfect. We're just ourselves, and that's that's the best that any of us can do is just be ourselves. Yeah, there's the cliche out there like just be yourself. It's so true though, because we can't lead, we can't guide, we can't do a whole lot if we're just not believing in ourselves, we're not comfortable in our own skin. And there's going to be times where we're more comfortable, more confident, and times where we're less comfortable, less confident. But in general, we 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 can only do what humans can do. And so try that. And I'm going to try to do that here with this particular episode. We talk about gratitude and being humbled and all these different terms, buzzwords, we hear all the time, and some of us, if we hear them, we're like, oh my gosh, I've heard that so many times. Here we go again. Uh, this time I'm gonna really slow it down. And what do I mean by that? I mean, there's so many things that I take for granted that maybe some of you take for granted. And I just want to slow it down in ultra slow motion because I think it's helpful. It's helpful for me to think and to slow down. It's easy and it's hard, I guess, is the the it's as clear as mud, or it's easy and it's not. Once we do it, we feel so much more peace, so much more at ease. But it's so hard to do because our lives are so fast paced. There's so much information at our fingertips, at our thumb tips. Uh, we have machine learning, AI, all that. And it seems like our quest as human beings is that we have to compete against that at some level. And so what does that mean? It means thinking faster, trying to think faster, do things faster, more efficient. Well, if it takes 10 steps, well, can we take 3 steps out and can we do this thing, this process, this project in 7 steps instead of 10? And I think we get lost sometimes. I know I do a lot because that's just the way my mind operates. And just thinking about so many things, and so many of them we never get to, we never get to do, and so many things that aren't really that important at the end of the day. And I reflect again on when my dad, who has passed on, God willing, to heaven, is on his way, if he's not already there. And there were so many times where we would, as a family, just sit in silence. And some of you may say, well, why didn't you read a book? Or why didn't you listen to music? Or why didn't you? It's very interesting because before that time, I would have thought the same thing. Just like if we're traveling, right? Uh, Most notably, air travel or train travel or subway travel, where it's travel really of any extent, even just driving in a car, riding in a bus. You see like the earphone and the AirPod for the microphone and for listening. And I've noticed that so much more going anywhere to a restaurant, to a gas station to pay inside. It's so many of us, uh, we have these earphones and where we may or may not be listening to something. We may or may not be on a call at that particular time that we see that person. or if it's us ourselves. And that just really puts this into concrete where we gotta listen, we gotta be on the phone, we have to watch because we're in competition with the next person. Or even if we don't think we are, that doesn't matter. We could be just doing it for recreation. We could just be listening to an audio book, uh, listening to our favorite artist, our favorite music, uh, maybe listening to a voicemail. And those types of things when I was growing up, that technology, while it was probably in motion, we just didn't have that. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have email. And I know I'm starting to sound like I feel like other generations were saying to me, back when I was growing up, we walked uphill, both we walked to and from school and both were uphill. And we hear these stories and legends uh, and it would just make us think, oh yeah, okay, sure, sure. And now I'm one of those that says, well, back when I was growing up, we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have email. We did not have text messages. We did not have Siri or Cortana or whoever to help give us feedback and again, get more information, get more answers quicker. I can't wait. I'm at lunch and a topic comes up and it says, "Oh, I don't know, maybe I'll just look it up." Did we need to know that particular topic or that particular answer at that particular time? Probably not. It, it wasn't going to, it wasn't a life or death. Many of these are, most not, many are not life and death decisions and thoughts that we look up or as we go from app to app, social platform to social platform, from calls to text to emails. And so when I was sitting in silence for a long time, when my dad fell ill, I'd give anything to go back to that time because my dad would still be alive, albeit he would be sick, and I would still give anything to go back to that time to just sit in silence and not worry about me, think more about others, my dad, my mom, my sister, my wife, my daughter. And I think all of us would if we've been in the room in the final days, weeks, hours, months with a loved one. And until then, I didn't know what it was like. I knew what it was to grieve for grandparents and other maybe extended members of the family or a colleague at work, maybe somebody in their life close to them passed. And so those times when we're sitting in silence, it really, for me, and maybe for you too, kind of brings things, our thoughts, and doing this and that and this and that. And I got to do this. And then, oh my gosh, I got to do that too. It really just slows us down. Like, what's important? Like, literally, I'm sitting with next, sometimes reading Bible passages to my dad. And that's not maybe some, not the most glamorous thing. And I think, oh, well, I got so many other things to do. And we've all encountered ups and downs on all levels, professionally, personally, relationshiply, relationshiply is if that's even a word. I'll have to look that up. And there we go. I gotta look that up sometime. I'll probably forget, which is good, because it doesn't matter if that's a word or not. It conveys a point. Do we go through so many ups and downs that we forget to breathe, or not even just to forget? It's so automatic for most of us. And I say most of us because I've had panic attacks, real bad panic attacks. And I had one recently, or what felt like the onset of one. And part of that is exhaling more, like air, more oxygen is leaving our body than entering. I don't know what the ratio is supposed to be, but part of a panic attack is we're just not getting enough oxygen into our body, into our brain. So here I am, what, going on 8 years in November. And for anybody that's ever said, "Oh, Justin, you're healed, you're better," it's like, well, there's days, there's times, but mental health for I think everybody, not just me, but in my experience with myself that I know of, when panic attacks happen or the onset, I think to myself, oh my gosh, I need to breathe. And it doesn't matter what I think about this other thing or this project or that project or this thing or that thing. Because if I don't breathe, I'm not going to remain alive. So that's what I mean by slowing down, saying, wow, let's take it down to that level. Like, I'm grateful that my body, more times than not, is able to breathe and process oxygen. And just something as simple as that. Uh, How many of us take that for granted? And so I'm grateful that my body, for the most part, was able to do that. And I don't have to think about that. I'm grateful that I don't need assisted oxygen. There may come a day and time that I do, but right now, at this moment that I'm talking, you're watching or you're listening to this episode, that's what I'm referring to. I'm grateful for the clothing, whether it's branded clothing or not, whether it says Voices for Voices on it or not. Just the mere fact that I have clothing and my family has clothing for the different seasons. I'm grateful for a roof over our head. It was a big driver for brainstorming about this episode is I'm grateful for the air conditioning that we have where we live because we've had one heck of a heat wave. And if we didn't have the air conditioning, and we've had, and I'm saying this in all seriousness, we've had I believe every other summer that we've lived where we're living, we've had one thing or another stop working with our air conditioner. So I'm grateful that we have one. I'm grateful that the previous people had one, and now we have one. But having one and it working are two different things, as we know, with just about anything. Like I may have a classic car, but if it's not running and I'm not able to enjoy it, then that's different, right? So far this summer, we've had a working air conditioner, and that's a luxury. I lived for many years without air conditioning, and we would just open windows and run fans, and that's just how we did it. Because air conditioners, just like many things, when they first are released and they first come out, the price tag is super high. And then as time goes on, the price tag in many instances lowers a little bit. And then there's different models and different versions. And so the most recent model is usually priced higher than an older model or an older version. And so I am very grateful for air conditioning, and that it's working. Like I said, previous years we had at least, oh boy, I think one year it was almost a week because, right, you have to, we're not, when things happen like this, we're not just the only people that this happens to, it happens to others. And so this is why it's so important for the trades. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to go to university. I have, well, you don't have to. You can make really good money going into the trades, like being an electrician, heating and cooling, uh, technician, or I'm not sure the exact title. And so when it's warm, the demand for people with those backgrounds and with knowledge and are able to fix, in this case, an air conditioner, or if you need a brand new one, because, well, to fix it, it's X amount, and X amount is more than what Y amount is, and the Y amount may be a new air conditioner. And so we weigh our options. But anyways, talking about the trades, very important. And so I encourage you or you to talk to somebody that you're able to influence and talk to, whether it's not just us, but if we have children, if we have nephews, nieces, if we have teammates, whatever the case may be, don't just rule that out. There is a high need for individuals with those skills. So air conditioning at this time, just like when I talked about the breathing and body breathing in oxygen. And so that's something it's like, well, yeah, that our bodies just know how to do that. Okay, do they? And even if they do, does it mean that we still shouldn't be grateful that our body's able to do that? I mean, the times I've seen people, loved ones, on needing assisted oxygen, I'd say at those times we might be thinking a little bit differently. And it should, I've thought differently because of those those times in my life. And the only time I can do that is when I slow down, when I literally come to just about a halt of, wow, I couldn't think about whatever. And so by taking it and slowing it down and slowing it down and slowing it down, we start to think about things that are actually important, like being able to breathe, whether on our own or even if we need assisted oxygen. Because without that, survival is pretty difficult. And so air conditioning, I think of like, oh yeah, everybody has an air conditioner. Well, not everybody. And there's people who at this very moment have air conditioning and it's working, and at the next minute it stops. And what do you do? Well, let's call somebody to fix it. Okay. What if there's no open appointments for 2 weeks? Well, I'll call somebody else. Okay. What if you call another technician? Well, they can get you in a week and a half. Okay, well, I need it quicker. So you call a third. It'll be a month. So let's just say whatever time period that it has elapsed before if your air conditioner goes out. Let's say you wait the week and a half and you got fans going, you're just all sweating. Been there, done that. That's why I'm talking about it because it's something that may seem basic. It's not basic, it's a luxury. And when it goes out, you don't know, or I don't know how to fix them. So I need a professional. I need somebody that does. So okay, you get that appointment in that week and a half, let's call it hypothetically. Technician comes out, does their thing, says, oh, this part's not working, or that part's not working too. And you need both of them. But if you're going to replace those two parts, you probably should replace the third part too. Say, okay, well, whatever you need to do. So number one, if you don't have the money to do it, then that's another aspect we'll talk about on different episodes. So let's just say you need those three parts, and the technician calls the warehouse or their where they have their spare parts. Well, I have one of them, but I don't have the other two. You say, well, okay, well, I needed all three. They only have one of the three. Okay, well, can you get the second and the third? So they might call the warehouse, say, oh, we can get that second one, but that's the one that's that third, meaning you really need those first and that second part. The third is because maybe it's just how they're connected. It just makes things a little easier. And so you kind of have that middle part, right? So you can get that first one, you can get that third, but you need that second one. Warehouse doesn't have it. Call around, they don't have it. Call around, call around, call around. Well, we can get it in a week, and that's after it's been a week and a half. That you and your family, your loved ones have been without the air conditioner. So what do you do? Well, I'd call another. Okay. Again, these are all things that I did, we did, we've done. So I'm not just making this stuff up. Been there, done that. And there's a lot of been there, done that, and there's a lot that I haven't been there and done that. This is one of the ones that I have. And I know how frustrating it is. I know how hot it gets. I know no matter how many fans you have running, that it's going to be very uncomfortable until it gets fixed. And so all those days, all those times prior, We're just going about our daily lives, right? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm picking up so and so, I'm dropping them off, we're eating, we're resting, we're sleeping, we're brushing our teeth, we're taking a shower, a bath, and we're not even thinking about the climate in our own home. We're just like, all right, well, I'm hot and it's summertime, so let me turn the temperature down and now kick on the air conditioner. You may be saying, why is he taking a full episode, 35 minutes to talk about breathing oxygen and an air conditioner? Because when we strip all the luxury and the cars and the fancy this and the fancy that and the fancy jewelry and we take it down to a human being level, and when your air goes out and you need it, it's easy to sit here and say when everything's working that, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I'm not, but I bet you're going to worry about it that first minute you feel through the vents and you're like, why isn't there air? Why isn't the cool air coming through? And then you go into a different room. Why isn't it not coming through here? Or what about the thermostat? What if the thermostat's off and it's not showing the right temperature? There's just so many things that can go wrong that I really wanted, and I am, and we wanted, and we are slowing things down and just talking about some basic things, basic needs, the clothing, the temperature that's comfortable when it's in the winter time. We want to have the when our heat to work. Well, our air conditioner works. Well, I don't want the air on when it's 15 degrees outside. I I need air and oxygen, to breathe O2, but I need warm air at this time. Whereas now we're on the opposite side of been super hot for quite a bit. And so once we take that step inside, if we have air, if we're blessed to be able to have that, it makes things so much easier because we're able to not have to worry about that. Okay, well, we have the breathing. Okay, we have the temperature. We have the clothing. What about food? Food, water, clothing, shelter, the top, actually the bottom, if we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but we're talking about just basic survival needs. So I can have all the air conditioning in the world, but if I don't have any food to eat or safe drinking water to drink, well, the air is all well and good. And so this episode is meant to serve that purpose of let's slow things down every once in a while. I'm grateful again, additionally, for my car. Number one, that I have a car. Number two, that it's running. Number three, that the air conditioner is working. 'Cause I have a family member that their air conditioner stopped working and they get it replaced. And that's just what, if you're able to, and blessed to be able to, have the finances to do that. That's where it's like, well, yeah, of course, I need, or we need this to get fixed. And so we take it in, and then that whole spiral comes back. Who do we take it to? Who has an appointment? What hours are they open? Well, they might have an appointment today, uh, but I can't get out of work. I got a meeting. And then when I can get it in, they're only open certain hours. And while I'm working that time, or I'm traveling, or whatever. And so these are all maybe considered basic things, basic decisions. But what it really comes back to is, like I said, what really matters in our life. And we haven't even gotten the relationships and others. We're just talking about basic survival of, if I don't have anything else, I would sure like to be cooler inside than outside if it was summertime or any other time that it's that way. And then vice versa. If I have that shelter and it's really cold outside, I would like the ability to turn the heated air on. And so let's just take a moment every once in a while and just think about the blessings that we all have. And it's not just the uber wealthy. There's things that I overlook daily. And I just, we're over 40 minutes with this episode. And we've really only talked about just a handful of things. So none of that matters, though, if all my mind is worried about and thinking about is something that's 6 months or a year in the making. Like planning and executing different projects, different things. Those things are all well and good, but we're only able to do that once we're able to have those basic necessities taken care of. And so, no matter where you're at, no matter how you're addressing your mental health, maybe you're like me, maybe not, it's okay. But I just want to close with, no matter where you're at on your journey, if panic attacks are something that you know of a lot, or even just a little bit, that they can happen at any time. Extra nervous, getting sweaty, palms clammy, feeling like gonna pass out. Uh, there's always gonna be that person that's gonna say, "Well, just take a breath. Just, just take a." Well, that's easy to say until you're in that moment. And I've said it before I've gotten to be a little bit better on that. Like if somebody is really panicking, then I need to just slow down. And if I'm able to help or just slow down whatever is happening as best that I can because I know what it's like to be panicked. And no, it's nothing that God says that we did wrong. Say, oh, well, you did something wrong. So, you know, God is punishing you with this panic attack. No, I don't I don't agree with that philosophy. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I just I don't believe that's something that's the case. So as we turn the page on 294 episodes, with this being the 295th episode, uh, 300's coming very, very soon, like so quick. How it's just coming so fast. It's just truly incredible. So it's okay to slow down, take stock of where we're at. There's going to be things where we're going to want more or feel like we need more of one thing or the other thing, and it's okay to think that. But as sitting with my family last year and so much silence and solitude, it helped me to slow down a little bit. I don't have a number that I slow down to from this number to that number. But what I do know is I'm realizing at least a little bit more some of these small things that really are the big things. Because if we're not breathing, probably having a hard time surviving. And if it's super hot outside and we're blessed to have air conditioning and it goes out, we find out real fast, like, wow, I didn't realize how much I just took that for granted. I was taking it for granted. I take it way less for granted, given that all the summers, except for the one now, which I hope we able to get through without another repair or air conditioner fully going out. Because I was reminded a very short time ago when looked out the window, saw a technician replacing the whole air conditioning unit. And as a reminder that while today we might not need it, we might not be going through that trouble today, that seeing that extra grateful that time when I saw that. Oh my gosh, I know exactly what they're feeling like because last year, as we now close out this episode, said that before. Uh, Here I was where saying I was almost speechless at the beginning, so at the episode. just last year, our technician, who's awesome, he tried so many different things. And he tried one thing and then it worked and then it didn't work. So then he was, troubleshooting, and finally it came down to uh this part you're gonna need, it's this amount, and as old as the air conditioning unit is and other factors, you're better off just getting a new one. And I had no idea what an air conditioning unit costed. I found out that day the number I thought it was times two of of that number, what it was going to cost. So I am grateful for having air conditioning in the summer months and having heated air in the winter months. And there's going to come a time when we're going to have to get the air conditioner replaced. But at least for this moment that we're filming this, hopefully also when I'm processing this too, uh, that never know, right? Could start processing this episode and it goes out and then can't get an appointment for a week or two. And when that time comes, we need the air conditioner. And maybe it's right before the weather changes and we think, oh my gosh, we're not gonna need this air conditioner until next year at this time. So life always throws us curveballs, but we can be grateful. That's how we can do things. Be grateful for the things we have and hopeful for things that we need, like food, water, clothing, shelter, climate control, spaces indoors. So thank you for tuning in, making us one of the rarest podcasts. We were told after we hit episode number 250 that if you take all the podcasts in the world, that fewer than, so let's say there's 100 podcasts at one. When you get to 250, there's less. So right, so let's say there's 100, and at episode one, there's 100, all 100 organizations, groups, people, individuals. But then you get to 250, and there's less than that amount. And so at each number, each new episode we uh we bring to you puts us in even more and more and more rarefied air. And so we're grateful to have the opportunity to come to you, whether this is your first episode you've watched or listened to, or if you've been with us from the beginning. Lastly, I'll just ask one more time if you can give us a big thumbs up, like, share, follow, leave us a comment. We would greatly appreciate that. And we are a charity. So if you're able to donate monetarily, we would greatly appreciate that. You can do that at Venmo, Voices, VOICES, the number four, and then Voices, VOICES. So Voices, the number four, Voices. That's at Venmo. If you head on over to Voices four with the four spelled out, so Voices, and then FOR, Voices dot org. Once you're taken to our website or at the top of the top middle of uh, the page you see, we'll say give you the opportunity to support the show, the organization Voices for Voices, and we would greatly appreciate that. If you like to volunteer, send us a note, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. So no matter where you're at, if you can hit that like button or subscribe, that's free. We would appreciate that just as much as we would a donation. So thank you for bringing Voices for Voices into your lives. And we ask that you are a voice for you or somebody in need. And let's celebrate not just one voice, let's celebrate all of our voices. So we'll see you next time. Take care.